Meanwhile, the opposition's doubts over EVMs have not gone down very well among serving officers of the Indian Administrative Service, especially those who are currently engaged with the Election Commission. Many of them have taken to Twitter to vouch for the integrity of EVMs. One IAS officer who has been conducting elections for the past 15 years termed the charges against the Election Commission incredulous. Former chief of RNAW, Vikram Sood, put out a tweet thread explaining why EVMs cannot be compromised. He called the claims by the opposition, quote-unquote, worse than a farce. These officers, in one voice, clearly said that electronic voting machines cannot be hacked. So why is the opposition raising an alarm about EVMs now at this point in time? The exit polls haven't gone their way, as we've discussed. 7 out of 9 exit polls predict that the NDA will secure a majority. Prime Minister Modi claims that there is a pro-incumbency wave in the country, and some pollsters seem to agree. Look at this survey conducted by the Centre for the Study of Developing Societies, CSDS. The survey found that the popularity of Prime Minister Modi is still intact. In fact, he has won more voters from the left-leaning parties this time. Here's what the numbers say. CSDS asked its respondents about their choice for Prime Minister. In 2014, 4% of Congress voters chose Narendra Modi. 5 years later, that number has increased by 3%. So now it's 7% of Congress voters who say they want Modi as Prime Minister. He may have lost some support among voters who prefer to vote for allies of the Congress, but he makes up for it. The CSDS survey found that among its sample of BSP voters, for instance, more respondents chose Modi. Similarly, he has gained more support from left voters, as well as from other parties. In short, the CSDS found that Narendra Modi is still the most popular choice for Prime Minister. He's 18 points ahead from his nearest rival, Rahul Gandhi. This morning I read a newspaper opinion piece which said that we, in the media, people who weigh in on which way the election is going, tend to live in an echo chamber, and our analysis is often overshadowed by our hopes. So we do not see a silent wave. Was there always this pro-incumbency wave, as the Prime Minister says?
Well, it's true that journalists and political analysts spend an awful lot of time talking to each other, but also try and get out there and talk to real people and get to the ground. I'm not entirely surprised. I'm actually quite surprised that the differential between Narendra Modi's popularity figures and Rahul Gandhi's is only 18%. I'd have thought it'd be quite a lot bigger, because actually I don't think there's all that many people who think Rahul Gandhi is a great potential leader. But this election has been all about Narendra Modi. I'm slightly surprised again that 7% of Congress voters think Modi would be the best leader. I can't quite work out why they're not then BJP voters, because this has been such a personalised campaign. But I think, you know, we've talked before about the way in which I think misguidedly Rahul Gandhi made Narendra Modi, in a sense, the centrepiece of his own campaign with the Chokidar Chor Hai slogan, and people do not think Narendra Modi is a chore. They quite like the way in which he's a chokidar. And I'm coming to the conclusion, which I didn't have, I think, a week or two ago, that Balakot has been a much bigger factor in the way that people regard Narendra Modi and therefore have supported the BJP than it initially appeared. It seemed to be fading as an issue, but I think the sense of Narendra Modi as a strong leader who gives a strong response when India's interests are imperiled has made a difference with the electorate.
Do you believe, we've always maintained and we've always seen that Narendra Modi's personal popularity has been way above his party's. But the fact that people have not bothered to worry about who their representative, constituency representative is, and have voted for Modi is what seems to have worked here, if the exit polls are right.
Well, yeah, if they're right, but you have so many of them right. Who was it? Omar Abdullah said, you know, if they all say that, I'm just going to go to bed and I'll wake up, you know, on Friday and see the results. I suspect that they are right, you know, in terms of where they're headed. But there is an effort to deny it. And where that effort starts is in December, when the Congress won those 3 states, you know, quite handily in most cases. But, you know, what's interesting is the polling that was taken in January, right after those elections, indicate that Modi was popular in those 3, 60%. 60%. And I agree with you. I thought the 18% was a narrower gap than I would have imagined. because in that same poll, Rahul was way behind in terms of who you would prefer to have as prime minister. And I think, you know, when people vote on a state basis and a national basis, there's a different set of criteria that they vote on, clearly. And it's going to be interesting because there is a push, including in this government, to have state elections as well as national elections at the same time as they used to be in India. And the thing is, in a sense, that will change the dynamic that now exists, where you have a set of things that are local and another set of things that are national. Because simply because you support Modi at the national level doesn't mean you necessarily support the BJP at the local level. There's all sorts of instances where that's not the case. So we'll see where that goes. My guess is the government would like to push that. This government would like to push having simultaneous because it probably suits their benefit to do that.
You think the larger messaging works? Someone was telling us today that some man in a village in Rajasthan was asked why he voted Modi, and he said, because he brought that pilot back. He has nothing to do with the pilot. He has never been in the army. It really doesn't affect his life. But that was the one point that sort of got him to...
Yes and no. I mean, people say all kinds of things, especially when they're on TV. But I do agree that Indians want a strong leader who can change the profile of India both domestically and on the world stage. And there's no comparison to Modi's leadership. I agree with what everybody here has said about it. And in fact, speaking of these surveys, it was not a CSDS poll, but another one, which showed that a larger percentage of Muslims voted for the BJP this time, plus 5%. So he's somebody who's able to attract, you know, the support of all sections of the people, because he's tapped into the aspirational potential of the Indians. And we don't want to be seen as a third-rate power, you know, on the world stage. As somebody said, hum bhikmange nahi hai. We are not beggars, you know, but we have some dignity. And I think that, you know, Modi has managed to awaken that sense of pride in an average Indian who may be dispossessed and not have a toilet, but is still aspirational for his country, you know, and for his own class and his family and his, you know, community. So I think that this leadership quotient is going to make a huge difference in the results that we see tomorrow. And then the other point that somebody very senior in the government told me, he said, you know, all these emotive issues are fine and they keep the pot boiling, as it were, of this pot boiler, which is the election. But in the village, people have appreciated the work done on the ground. Like there was no electricity, you know, gas was a distant, you know, possibility for these people, you know, toilets, possibility of having our own home. He said people appreciate those things, and that mattered even in Gujarat. He said, don't forget, in Gujarat the wave was against Modi, but people remembered that he brought the Narmada waters to Saurashtra. That's what matters in the end.
You know, this may be a parliamentary election, but do you think at the end it was a presidential style contest, and on one side we had Modi and on the other side there was no credible alternative?
You know, first of all, the opposition made it a presidential candidate, you know, so the Modi hatao, like in 1971, Indira hatao.
Yeah.
And once you make a presidential candidate, you have to have somebody on the other side. They didn't have that. But secondly, you know, I was also thinking, looking at the pictures, look at Rahul Gandhi. He thinks looking slightly scruffy, going around the country is good. It's an old style. Modi is absolutely impeccably dressed, time after time, different colored turbans, well dressed, well prepared. And I think, you know, people have now.
You know, there was a home minister who was impeccably dressed, and then he lost his job in India.
Shivraj
We had
Patil.
Shivraj Patil, who was also impeccably
I
dressed.
mean, what it is
of them
that
anymore.
people now receive information on their television, they see Modi hugging Trump, and they say, it is our guy out there, you know, as an equal. And that makes a lot of impact. The sophisticated people laugh at it, but the simple people think this is good for us.
Yes.
And that makes a lot of difference. Modi knows how to communicate, and the rest don't.
I want to take up something that Makaran said, which is the signs of a slight increase in Muslim support for Narendra Modi, because we're moving from a very low base to a still very low figure. And I think the thing that Narendra Modi and the BJP have failed to do is to bring Muslims on board. So how many Muslims are there in the BJP parliamentary party? How many Muslims are there in
Have been given
prominent
tickets.
positions? And I think some of the rhetoric, green streak stuff and things like that, have clearly diminished the status of minorities in this country. And when the Muslim minority is so huge, and when India may, in a couple of decades' time, be the world's have the world's biggest Muslim population, I think that's a matter for acute concern.
And it's not just Modi, or it's not just the BJP. I think in this election, every party sort of gave up on the Muslim vote, because Rahul Gandhi was at pains to prove his Hindu credentials. And
Apart from Trinamool.
apart from Trinamool, maybe.
See, I think it's a difficult choice. You want to consolidate Hindu votes. You can't be seen as appeasing the Muslim minority that much. But I agree with what Andrew said, that after the second term, we must move to an inclusive Hindutva. I mean, the BJP has to change its messaging so that you're no longer struggling to counteract or countermand the Nehruvian consensus, which was based on a cobbling together, stitching together of various minorities. Even if you're going to be majoritarian, let's say if you want to message yourself as a pro-Hindu party, and, you know, Christian Democrats, whatever, this Christian is not seen as a red flag in
I think
Europe.
they say by a Hindu party, they do not mean Hinduism, the religion, but the Hindu way of life.
Yeah, also no, but they still, even if they're majoritarian, they have to be inclusively majoritarian, it seems to me.
Right.
Not exclusively majoritarian, which really means that in the second term, they have to rein in that faction, you know, which has been so virulent and so aggressively anti-Muslim at times, you know. It's no longer necessary. I think they have to show themselves to be inclusive, statesman-like.
Sonia Gandhi was worried that Congress was thought to be too Muslim friendly. And so this time they've been completely Muslim friendly. Haven't mentioned the Muslims at all. And so if Modi mentions triple talaq, he's plus several times compared to the, you know, I think the Congress just overinterpreted the message they got about being thought anti-Hindu, and they just went overboard. They didn't have to go that much overboard. They didn't have to kind of surrender on the Hindutva. They could have held their position very guardedly and said, you know, we are sort of, you know,
Secular.
for the majority, we've always been for the majority, but our sense of majority is a mixed majority rather than, they could have done that, but they didn't do it.
Right.
And went on saying he's a Brahmin with sacred thread. I mean, what's the
I think
point?
it worked in Gujarat, or so they said. It worked in Gujarat, so they tried to do more of it.